My name's Nathan Englander. I live in Brooklyn, New York, but that's new. But yes, a New Yorker. And I'm also an ex-workshopper, so I am overcome. I'm in a fit of nostalgia, so I was here from '94 to '96. I was just talking to Connie, the illustrious workshop administrator who's been running it forever, who's amazing. But I was saying I really didn't recognize how young I was. I had finished workshop in '96. So I came back at 29 as an aged man of letters. So last time I was here was right after the first book, but I don't think I'd had enough time to truly get how much I would miss this place. So it's been 10 years since I've been back. You know what? One needs to be thankful for everything. But in a sense, certain books beg certain questions. There's the general set. I mean, I could break it. I spent a lot of time on the road. So, when a book happens, it's, I do rounds in America and then the foreign countries and stuff. And it's kind of amazing how certain questions come up a lot. I mean, there's the whole pen and pencil set that, goes to every writer. Where do you get your ideas from? What do you write with? Do you write sober, drunk, whatever those things are? But actually, I don't know why I'm editing. I saw the instant answer. I just saw Jew. I write basically Jews are people too. That's what I'm here to spread the word about today. But I write. I grew up in a very closed world. I'm a Jewish guy. I was like, that's the world I imagine, because it's it's not an alternate. I guess I spent a lot of times. I saw the answer, not the question. But it's always something about Judaism or that element of the work, which is, maybe that's the one that's most prominent to me. How's that? Because I get, as I said, moving out of that whole set of questions that come along with being a writer, and then the questions specific to your work. I think the one that not interests me most, but I think takes the most finessing, is always something about seeing literature, or not that I write literature, but seeing my, I tell stories, but addressing this element of that seems to interest people, both Jew and Gentile alike, but this idea that somehow, and from both groups, but that it's somehow other, that a story about people is somehow qualified, that it's as if it's almost a kind of genre fiction if you write about Jews, or if you write about, if it's gay fiction, there's these things. And that, I guess that's maybe not the question I ask most, but that comes up every time that really most engages me as a really delicate thing. No, I have a favorite noisy place, I would say. I'll just break it. I'll be like, there's two kinds of writers, but there are many kinds of writers. But I have friends who are just, I was gonna say, you could really put them in a box and drop them to the bottom of the sea, and they would just be so happy forever. I happen to have dedicated my life to writing, and I love it, and I work long and I work hard, but I also happen to like people, which is a really delicate balance. So for me, I go quickly mad alone in a room. I make sure to leave the house at some point in the day. So it's that, I've been forever, down the street here, but, I wrote hunks of my first book at the Java House right when it opened, and always coffee shops. Yeah, there's, the girl in every port, the sailor thing, I have a coffee shop in every city. I was like, literally name a city on this planet, I'll be like, here's my coffee shop. But I really like white noise, and I like having people around, So for me, that's, I don't know if I mumble or cry out, or, I don't know if it's like a fever dream. I don't know what I look like when I'm working, but I really can utterly lose myself in a really, really busy coffee shop. That's my ideal place. Yeah, I'm just starting up a new cycle of that. I really try. It's really easy, and I don't think this is a writing thing. I think this is for anyone, everyone's busy, but anyone who's really compulsive about what they do, that there's not time for anything else in the day. I mean, just, I better not brush my teeth today, or I don't know, I have time for one sock, I'll put the second sock on tomorrow. You just got to be hammering, which is what I believe in one sense, but I'm 40 years old now, and the lesson I just have to keep reminding myself is that it so much enriches. It is good for the fiction. I work really, I've been saying, since I started writing, this has been a struggle, which is to try and learn to take the day off, that it's back to the biblical, 6-day work week and a rest day, but even in the day, like to make sure you're doing, I don't care if you want to cook or whatever it is, paintball. I don't know what your thing is, but just you should have something else that interests you. So for me, yeah, I try, and it switches all the time, whatever the sport is or something, but some sort of physical something is, I'm both telling you and reminding myself that is such a, elemental part of the day, that you feel better, think better. And I just forget that it's, the hot shower formula, like you're just taking a shower and just that's when you have, your brain really needs a second to think it's not working sometimes to do the real work. Yeah, when I'm talking to writers starting out, you always say just even to read a short story backwards from the last word to the front. I'm just an obsessive. I read unbelievably slowly. I always think I would go to the ophthalmologist and be like, "Do you know you're blind in your left eye?" And I'll be like, "That's it." I read so slowly. I memorize everything. I mean, it just, anyway. I see it when I'm reading other books. I'll be like, you used that word in a similar fashion 304 pages ago. I can just, even when I'm reading someone else's book, but I compulsively, I'm really always looking for word repetitions. And so it's just that idea of, again, you have to let your mind loose and work. But I think that's one of the, again, something else I learned out here. But, I always say it's like the nice guys, nice people don't finish last. All the things that you would want to be true with writing are true, which is, not worrying about what somebody else is doing actually serves you. Like just keeping your head down, being not, I think sort of a moral fiction really serves the writing of fiction. So if you'd actually do what you would think would be the nicest thing to do, it would probably be best for your work. But having been a workshopper, learning to read for others, taking that time, which is an enormous amount of time, you really learn to read for yourself. At some point, you have to learn to be able to step back from your own work. Some story or novel that you've written 50,000 times, a page you've read 100,000 times, you need to look at that as if you've never seen it before. Just hear it all, see it all, just, again, as if it has never been seen by you. And I think, that's where I do the hunt. And so it's not, any word or phrase. It's not that's Frank Conroy, may he rest in peace, who was my teacher out here. But it was that idea, is looking for, everyone's got tics, and it is your obligation to find them, because they, they bump me as a reader, and I don't want to bump a reader of mine with something where every time someone's nervous, they pull at their right ear, and then you just have that, that's not gonna, you've got to find those things. That's how I knew I was finished actually with my last book, which I spent 8 years composing. Was I had a line that, when I'd pulled it, I knew I just, again, it's rare for any working writer to be like, this is a good line, this should be in this book. And a friend who'd read for me a draft was just really adamant, you have to find a place for that line in the book, like it just needs to be in there. And in a sense, it's not the things you use, it was the not using of that line that made me know I was done, that I'd built this character. I just say this idea, it's like building a table. It's, this is a functional table. Does it go to the Museum of Modern Art? First, does my drink fall off it? Working as a table, and then you can go from there, from craft to art and things like this. But the idea is, it's a construct. You're building a world, and I feel like there's this point where it better happen, where the characters become themselves. They're taller, they're shorter, they're fatter, they're skinnier. And in a sense, when I was 8 years into this book, I knew this line felt really good and would say a nice thing and describe a nice moment. I don't know, I can even share that line, actually, if I'm not, but the book's about parents whose son has disappeared in the dirty war in Argentina. And it was basically that, the woman forgets for a moment her son. I had this guilty moment where, where she recognizes built into every day is a moment of forgetting. There'll be, you're washing a dish, you turn away for a second, there's a flash. And after all those years of writing, I recognized that it would truly betray the character that I had built. Like, for this mother, there is no end to the search, there is no forgetting, there is no slip. So, yeah, there's things that you always want to use, or that maybe fit into a text, or that you think are nice or pretty or, flashy. And so, well, flashy would be really dangerous. But might serve it as a whole, but you might serve it not as a whole. The point is your obligation is always to the text as a whole. And for me, recognizing this thing that I personally wanted in, that my readers wanted in, that it would betray the character, that made me knew that made it clear to me that it was done. Sigh. I sort of trailed off there. Yeah, I would, absolutely. It's funny, I just feel it's not a, I was going to say, in many ways it does mirror religion, but it's not about God and it's not about religion, but spiritual for sure. I guess I really, again, break down writers when I meet them, or when I meet people that I admire, like when I, and again, getting to live a writing life, all these people, you get to meet people that that were your heroes, that drew you to writing. But I'm just always interested, there's sort of some people, I see it, I guess I call it entitled. There's some people I see who are fearless about writing for different reasons, where they were raised in a world where it's not a holy thing to them. It doesn't mean that not disrespectful, or I mean that they're disrespectful or not dedicated. I'm just saying that they've grown up in a world where this was a viable choice and a viable life, and they were told they could do anything, and this is what they do. And you can see books where they see the continuum really clearly, like, oh, if this book doesn't work, I'll do the next one. And I feel like I connect very much with the work. When I end up meeting the people whose work is closest to me, I feel like they fall on the spiritual side, where, yes, they're working writers, and yes, they're there hammering, and the books don't write themselves, but where they use these, when they describe it, they always use spiritual terms, and it's this idea of, whether you call it getting into the zone or the muse or whatever it is, people who are very reverent about what's happened and what is happening to them and where the work comes from. And that's, I feel reverence for the work, and it's a very delicate thing. The process don't break, you can get your, roll up your sleeves and get dirty doing it, but it's like, but yeah, reverence for the writing is fully spiritual. I was doing this event with Nicole Krauss. We were talking to some high school students, to a class, and we both sounded so sincere, and I really just had to stop and tell the students and say, like, everything's a joke to me. I mean, everything, you tell me a horrible thing, some horrible, like I'm only, oh, did I need to make it? Yeah, I guess I had to make a joke there. I said, like, I am a cynical person, ironical, I'm always looking for the joke, I can't stand emotion, all these. I said it's so hard to explain to you that the person sitting next to me is a certain way, and but when you ask us a certain set of questions, you're getting these deeply sincere answers, and it's because you're asking about the one thing that is, all-consuming and holy and terrifying and overwhelming, and so I bet it's a really delicate question, because it's a delicate answer, but it goes deep. Anyone who's writing, that's not I have a very a Zen answer for me about that. Yeah, I feel like it is so overwhelming, the label, or it was to me. For years I dreamed of being a writer. How does one become a writer? And you don't know for a very long time that it's just an action verb. When you are writing, you're a writer. It's really that simple. It's like, when you're running, you're a runner. I just felt like the weight of wanting to be something and put these labels on. I mean, I just feel like I learned that lesson this year, where I decided to be a storyteller instead of just a writer. Where I've been working on a play for the last year and a half, and I did a translation work on another one. It's like, when I got talked into doing the translation, I said, like, but I'm not a translator, but if I translate, I will be, but it's I'm sure, unknown children's book that I had a copy of when I was little, I think just in paperback, but I don't know if it sold a second copy, but it was called A Flower Pot Is Not a Hat, but if I put it on my head, it is. So anyway, but I really hear that with, like, this thing, it's just as simple as declaring and doing. So